Good evening. The AGC has dismissed Mahathir Mohamad's claims on Anwar Ibrahim's royal pardon. Stay tuned to find out what it said. Selangor Umno Youth has criticized Tengku Zafrul Abdul Aziz's move to leave UMNO and join PKR. Meanwhile, Zahedi says there's no rift in UMNO with his exit. All this and more on KiniNews. The Attorney General's Chambers has responded to Dr Mahathir Mohamad on his remarks on Anwar Ibrahim royal pardon in 2018. In a statement today, the AGC addressed Mahathir claims that no meeting was held over Anwar's royal pardon, which had brought into question the legitimacy of the pardon decision. The AGC said that the 51st meeting of the Pardons Board for the Federal Territories of Kuala Lumpur, Labuan and Putrajaya took place on May 16, 2018 at the National Palace. It stated that the then young di-Pertuan Agong Sultan Muhammad V chaired the meeting and Mahathir himself was in attendance. It said that based on the advice of the Pardons Board, the Agong decreed to grant a full pardon to Anwar with immediate release effective from the date of the meeting. The AGC said it had also submitted written advice in accordance with Article 42(9) of the Federal Constitution for the board's consideration. A video of Mahathir's remarks had been shared by Presiding Information Chief Tun Faisal Ismail Aziz on Sunday. In the video, Mahathir alleged that he was only presented with a letter signed by the Agong to authorize Anwar's release. Mahathir had also claimed that lawyers questioning the legality of his action had recently approached him. Meanwhile, in his post, Tun Faisal had raised several questions on the matter and questioned the legitimacy of Anwar's appointment as the 10th Prime Minister. Selangor Umno Youth has hit out at Investment, Trade and Industry Minister Tengku Zafrul Abdul Aziz's decision to quit UMNO and join PKR. In a press conference, its chief Imran Tamrin said the move should not be seen as a good example, as it sets a bad precedent in local political practices. Imran also reiterated calls for Zafrul to resign from his minister post.
Kita juga mengambil maklum dan juga berpendirian bahawa kedudukan beliau dalam anggota pentadbiran kerajaan sebagai Menteri MITI adalah atas kapasiti beliau sebagai kepimpinan tertinggi UMNO di peringkat pusat dan juga di peringkat negeri yang beliau jawat sebelum ini. Sehubungan dengan itu, Pemuda UMNO Negeri Selangor berpendirian bahawa UMNO perlu mempertahankan jumlah komposisi anggota pentadbiran kerajaan perpaduan yang diwakili oleh kepimpinan dan juga ahli-ahli parlimen daripada parti UMNO supaya ianya kekal dalam komposisi seramai 7 orang menteri dan juga 5 orang timbalan menteri dalam kabinet kerajaan perpaduan.
Still on the topic, previously UMNO President Ahmed had said that he didn't see any indication of the temperature rising within UMNO over Zafrul's exit from the party. According to him, the grassroots saw Zafrul's resignation as appropriate, given his lack of loyalty to UMNO. In a press conference yesterday, he said it's better for Zafrul to leave if there is no loyalty to the party. Zahid stated that they shouldn't disturb Zafrul because he is performing Hajj and hopefully peace will surround his mind. Meanwhile, when asked if Zafrul's ministerial position needs to be replaced, Zahid said discussions on the matter should be held internally within the coalition government. Previously, Zahid had said that UMNO wants its quota of 7 ministers in the cabinet to be restored to the party following Zafrul's action. Zafrul had announced his resignation from UMNO to join PKR last Friday. Rumors about former Minister Khairi Jamaluddin's possible return to the cabinet through UMNO are intensifying. What could his return mean for the party's future and for the coalition government? For University Science Malaysia's political analyst Siva Murugan Pandian, Khairi's rumored return as a symbol of UMNO's modernization and rebranding, aiming to attract younger, urban and moderate voters. He told Malaysia Kini that Khairi is viewed as someone who articulates well, is progressive and is in touch with contemporary issues. However, he added that Khairi may have to pacify the old guard after his sacking from the party to make sure they see him not as a threat but someone who can play a collective role for the party and nation. Meanwhile, Anis Anwar Suhaimi, head of research at think tank O2 Research, said that public reaction to Khairi's potential cabinet return will largely depend on the role he is expected to play. He said Khairi's re-entry could simply show that the party wants a capable figure to fill the vacancy left by Tengku Zafrul Abdul Aziz Aziz, which would make the appointment a functional stopgap rather than a statement of long-term reform. On the other hand, he said a different reading would emerge if UMNO uses the moment to elevate Khairi back into its top tier, indicating a willingness to restore him as one of the party's main leaders. Anis added that Khairi's arrival will also test whether the cabinet and Prime Minister Anwar Ibrahim can accommodate his vision within day-to-day decision-making. He said should a clash occur, public opinion is likely to side with Khairi, which would cost the government political capital. He added that improvements on the government's performance could lead to comparison between pre-Khairi and with Khairi periods, and Anwar would have to frame those improvements as a collective cabinet success. Previously, Khairi had dismissed speculation of rejoining politics soon, saying he is focused on other commitments for the rest of the year despite cabinet reshuffle rumors. 20 million ringgit from Sukok funds earmarked for a Klang Valley highway project were misused for gambling purposes. This was revealed by MACC Chief Commissioner Azam Baki yesterday. According to Azam, he was briefed by his investigation officers that more than 20 million ringgit may have been spent on gambling activities. He was quoted as saying by the News Straits Times that the MACC also found 300 bottles of luxury alcoholic beverages in a storage facility. Azam said that the anti-graft agency is still tracing assets within the country and abroad, which will be frozen or seized to facilitate further investigations. He added that statements from 45 witnesses have been recorded to date. On Sunday, NST reported that the MACC had seized assets and frozen bank accounts totaling 85.6 million ringgit in its investigation, involving one of the suspects, an individual with a Tan Sri title, over the misappropriation of Sukuk funds meant for the highway construction project. It was reported that the Tan Sri is still receiving medical treatment at a private hospital as of yesterday. Last month, 4 individuals, including a Datuk Sri, were arrested on suspicion of submitting false claims, totaling around 360 million ringgit. They are believed to have submitted the false claims using Sukuk funds allocated for a Klang Valley highway project valued at approximately 1.3 billion ringgit between 2016 and 2017. The High Court in Kuala Lumpur has approved a request from the Malaysian Anti-Corruption Commission to freeze assets said to be worth around 758.2 million ringgit in London. The assets are allegedly owned by the late Daim Zainuddin's wife, Naima Abdul Khalid, and her family. According to Bernama, the assets are 2 commercial buildings, 3 luxury residences, and 2 residential units, as well as a bank account, allegedly belonging to the Ilham Foundation. The assets are among those being investigated under Section 4(1) of the Anti-Money Laundering Act and Anti-Money Laundering, Anti-Terrorism Financing and Proceeds of Unlawful Activities Act 2001. Previously, MACC Chief Azam Baki had said that MACC is pushing for any undeclared assets by the late Daim to be seized and surrendered to the government. MACC Chief Azam Baki said that they had received information about such assets being owned by Daim, his family and associates. According to Azam, the agency recently received new information from their counterparts abroad about alleged assets which Daim owned but did not include in his declaration to the authority. He added that among the countries where Daim allegedly had assets were Switzerland and the UK. If you like the stories we produce, consider supporting us by subscribing to Malaysia Kini. Click the link in the description below or scan the QR code on your screen to subscribe. Around 24 Palestinians were killed and dozens wounded in an Israeli attack early Tuesday. According to the Anadolu agency, the strike had targeted civilians awaiting humanitarian aid at an Israeli-designated aid distribution site in Rafah in the southern Gaza Strip. The report cited a statement by the Gaza Health Ministry as saying that there were also fatalities in the Al-Alam area of Rafah, where displaced Palestinians had gathered to receive assistance. The Gaza Health Ministry noted that the toll is preliminary, as many of the injured are in critical condition. Following the attack, UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres has called for an immediate and independent investigation into the events and for perpetrators to be held accountable. In a post on X, he added that Israel has clear obligations under international humanitarian law to agree to and facilitate humanitarian aid. He said unimpeded entry of assistance at scale to meet the enormous needs in Gaza must be restored immediately. He also reiterated the call for an immediate, permanent, sustainable ceasefire and for all hostages to be released immediately and unconditionally. Following Rafizi Ramli's resignation as Economy Minister, UMNO's Puan Zarkashi had questioned PKR's Nurul Izzah Anwar's praise, asking for examples of Rafizi's meaningful contributions. He had also called for her to stop the political drama over the issue. On Friday, we asked for your thoughts on his questioning of an outgoing minister's impact. Let's take a look at the responses. 67% of voters believed that Puat's comments were a political attack disguised as criticism. Meanwhile, 22% thought it is reasonable to assess his performance and asked for concrete evidence. 7% said views on legacy and it was not easy to evaluate. Meanwhile, several voters criticized Puat for his remarks, pointing out that he had been in politics for a long time and questioned what he had done in that time. Next, let's take a look at some of the other headlines from today. That is all from me today. For more stories, you can go to KiniTv.com. You can also follow us on Instagram, X, YouTube, and Facebook for the latest news updates. I'm Camelia. Thanks for watching.